On June 18, 2007, firefighters were called to duty in Charleston, South Carolina, as the Sofa Superstore erupted into flames. It was believed that the fire began in packing material outside a loading dock area, which soon involved the loading dock itself at the rear of the building. The fire continued to grow slowly through interstitial spaces to the showrooms at the front of the building. Poor ventilation limited the growth of the flames, but heated smoking gases still traveled throughout the structure. Firefighters responded with an aggressive attack. The fire presented with minimal flames at the front of the building until poor ventilation planning increased the levels of available oxygen to the scene. The fire intensified and the flames grew, spewing large quantities of thick black smoke throughout the structure. At this point, firefighters in the showrooms were in trouble. The incident commander issued an evacuation for the firefighters inside the building. However, the now oxygenated showrooms quickly experienced flashover conditions, resulting in 9 firefighter casualties. Most of the Sofa Superstore structure was lost to the flames before the scene was controlled by firefighting efforts. Upon initial response to the scene, the incident commander implemented an offensive strategy of attack. The incident commander primarily focused on confinement and extinguishment of the fire. The first arriving fire crew directly attacked the ignition site on the west side of the structure, ultimately progressing to an interior attack at the loading dock and holding room where the flames had spread. The second arriving crew was issued attack at the front of the structure where no flames were evident. This second crew quickly proceeded through the showrooms to attack the fire in the holding room. The offensive attack continued at these 2 fronts. Around this time, other crews were responding and tasked to provide supporting lines to the scene. An additional crew was positioned to the south of the structure to protect exposures as the fire spread throughout the warehouse. The incident commander issued immediate rescue efforts for a trapped civilian as a missing employee was determined by dispatch. The incident commander was then informed of deteriorating conditions and missing firefighters inside the structure, so he issued a full evacuation. Rescue efforts for the missing firefighters could no longer be executed because of the now critical internal environment of the Sofa Superstore. As the fire crews were forced to continue firefighting procedures outside of the structure, a defensive strategy was employed. The aggravated flames overwhelmed the building, causing the roof of the north showroom to collapse. Additional crews continued to arrive to subdue the remaining flame that had consumed almost the entire structure. The fire was then contained and recovery operations lasted throughout the night. The incident command structure and fire scene operations were critically faulted at the Sofa Superstore incident. The assistant chief initially assumed commands because he was a ranking officer at the time, but no real incident command structure was established for the duration of this incident. This lack of stable command structure caused disorganization throughout the scene. The incident commander also neglected to ensure adequate supply lines, a thorough scene size-up overlooking a steel truss roof assembly, and accountability system. The command structure proved ineffective as individual captains delivered their own orders as they deemed necessary. Miscommunication was also an issue that arriving crews experienced regarding tasks throughout the scene. Upon arrival of the fire chief, transfer of command was not sent out via radio to inform the rest of the fire crews. Tasks were not clearly established to the on-scene and arriving crews, resulting in a lack of preparedness and execution of firefighting operations. Constantly changing circumstances also added to the issues facing the fire scene operations. During the offensive mode of fire attack, transmissions of a trapped employee was reported, and rescue operations had to be conducted. Immediately after the rescue, distress signals and radio traffic from fire crews inside the structure were received suggesting deteriorating conditions. Maydays and past alarms were soon initiated from firefighters inside the structure, so the fire chief ordered a full evacuation of the building. Disorganization continued as rescue attempts were made for the firefighters. The incident commander ordered ventilation of the front windows, which subsequently introduced more oxygen to the flames and induced flashover conditions with firefighters still inside. The fire was, however, eventually controlled via a defensive mode of attack, but not before experiencing 9 line-of-duty deaths. A clear incident command structure should have been the first thing established at the scene. The ideal structure would have included a safety officer and rapid intervention crew, then included distribution of the fire suppression tasks amongst the remaining crews. As the situation developed and conditions changed, the incident command structure should have then expanded and adapted to match the needs of the scene. All responding crews should have been briefed upon completion of a transfer of command as well. Additionally, safety and liaison officers should have been assigned, EMS crews requested for injuries, rapid intervention crew assigned and staged for firefighter rescue, and unity of command amongst all responding resources should have been established.
In the fire service, change will often come through lessons learned during previous events. The Sofa Superstore fire on the evening of June 18, 2007, offered many learning opportunities for the Charleston Fire Department as well as many others. The major lesson learned was the importance of a well-organized and effective on-scene command from the start of the event. Due to the Charleston Fire Department not being up to date on procedures and not being properly trained in the execution of an IC system for an industrial fire or an MCI event, there was chaos from the beginning that had a part in the 9 firefighter fatalities. The importance of effective communication was also one of the hard lessons learned that evening, eliminating 10 codes as well as making sure that everyone was trained in the use of designated tactical channels for major incidents was immediately set in place by the Charleston Fire Department following the fire. The Charleston event proved in many ways that the fire service can never become complacent in their training and that there needs to be more acceptance to new policies and procedures. Cooperation by all personnel to embrace change can eliminate a routine fire call from turning into a tragic event, such as the Sofa Superstore fire.
The Sofa Superstore fire is yet another incident that highlights the significance of continuous quality improvement in the fire service. These types of tragedies are inevitable, however, so is opportunity to improve. Weaknesses in the fire service were ultimately exposed due to the failure of multiple areas of the Sofa Superstore fire response. The losses of this incident can produce positive change if lessons are learned from these mistakes. This concept is evident in a quote by Kevin Dunn, a nationally respected firefighting expert, who said, "The cause of a tragedy is usually an old lesson we have not learned or have forgotten along the way."